I'm Sabrina Galloway, your host, and I'm back again. Thank you all for joining us. I think that I'm super excited about this last and final speaker series. We've talked to women in sports, we've talked to women in the media and entertainment industries, and last week we talked with aspiring leaders. Today, because it's daytime, today we will be talking with a panel full of successful female entrepreneurs that are all in different industries, different lanes. They're going to give us their story. They're going to hopefully give us some of their secret sauce to continue to motivate you all as y'all tune in. I think that, we've had these conversations during a really difficult time, not only starting, with COVID-19, moving to the killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and the countless other humans that have died at the hands of racial injustice. And now we are at a time in our country where we are really having the conversation of race and around the racial inequalities that we are experiencing. I think these women can attest to that with their stories. I think they can attest to that and how they use their voices, and they wouldn't have gotten where they are, and all their success, of course, is attributed to hard work, but I'm sure it was attributed to the adversity that they've had. I think that these women have not only spoken up, but spoken out for themselves and also for the racial injustices and inequalities. I think this is the perfect time to tune in, to listen up, because we encourage you all to use your voice, encourage you all to really, discover who you are, and that race is a part of that. And I think that I'm very excited to introduce you to our panel. This is another hour-long topic about female entrepreneurs, and we will hear from these 5 motivating women. I will introduce them for a little bit, but we'll definitely let them introduce themselves. So let's welcome, first we have the first African-American woman to hold a patent for a natural hair care product, the CEO and founder of Naturalicious, GWEN JIMMERE. Hi, Gwen.
Hey there. Hello, Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Next, we have the founder and CEO of the Lip Bar, whose mission is to constantly remind every woman that they are enough, Melissa Butler.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Great, so glad you're here. Next, we have a talented photographer who captures some of the biggest NBA athletes and has helped with branding and marketing to many athletes and entertainers, CASSY ATHENA. What's up, CASSY?
What's going on?
Next, we have the co-founder of the WRIGHT Legacy Foundation and president and director of the MBWA, Mia Wright.
Hey, sis.
And then lastly, we have the CEO and founder of the Empowerment Plan, who is radically changing workforce development, Veronika Scott. What's up?
Hi.
So before we start and get into the panel, please note that you can type your questions below, and at the end, like we've done the past 3 weeks, we'll try to rapid fire as many questions as you guys have. I would like to really get started. We can start by each one of the panelists. You can tell us a little bit about yourselves, where you are, what you're doing, and give us a great intro. So who wants to go first? Not everybody scream all at once.
I'll go.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, Mia Wright here. Sabrina gave you my title. I'm from Los Angeles, California. Grew up as an entertainment industry kid, so I have an entertainment background. Met my husband when I was 21, Darrell Wright. He's a 12-year NBA veteran and champion. And I came into my position as president and director of the National Basketball Wives Association, which is the official 501c3 nonprofit representing NBA wives and significant others. And really, we are now refocusing our energy to be on the front lines of racial injustice and just using our platform to really do good for the community, for the underserved women and children of our communities that we come from. And yeah, it's my intro.
Thank you. Welcome.
So okay. I'm Melissa Butler. I grew up right here in the city of Detroit, and I moved my company back about 5 years ago to a completely different city. And even in the time period that I've been back in Detroit, it's been incredible to see the growth of the city. And I've just been so honored to be a part of that, whether that was hiring women. I'm really proud that the Lit Bar team is literally 100% women and 85% people of color. So I've been doing my part on the back end for years to just tell the story of women who typically don't have their stories told within the beauty industry. Again, reminding them that they are enough, that they don't have to transform in order to be beautiful. That there's already beauty within them, and they just need to pull that out and live and walk in their confidence. And in the last couple of weeks with COVID, we've just tried to do everything that we could to show essential workers, that they mean the most to us. And I think that, this is a time where we typically don't praise like retail workers, or we typically don't praise the doctors and the teachers. And now everyone's working at home while teaching their kids. They're like, oh my God, teachers need a raise. But with like the most recent murders of Black people in this country, we've really pivoted our messaging to focus on storytelling and focusing on the economic empowerment that is needed within the Black community. So just really excited, because I feel like now more than ever, our entire country is working towards collective action. And so me and the entire Lit Bar team, we are working towards making those actions come to pass.
I love it. I love it. Who's next?
I guess I'll go. Since no one else jumped in. Hey everybody, I'll go right now. My name is GWEN JIMMERE. I am the CEO and founder of Naturalicious. Similar to, well, not too dissimilar from Melissa, I also own a beauty brand, and we actually used to share office space in the same space as Veronika. So it's all comes together. But we have always been at the forefront of making sure that women, particularly Black women, are made to feel beautiful. I constantly tell my audience and our customers that we are, quite frankly, the standard of beauty. Every single person is the standard of beauty. No matter what society tells us, no matter what other people may think, as women, we always are growing up made to feel as though there's something wrong with us. There's something we need to fix. And once you fix that one thing, there's usually something else that you have to fix. And so you grow up with this feeling of inadequacy all your life. And I am just excited to be the leader of a team of women. My team too is 100% women, 90% African American, and the rest of the team is people of color. Very, very excited about that. And a huge part of our team as well is actually special needs. So we've always been looking for ways to give back to our community that gives to us. Everyone who makes products on our production staff, they are special needs. The reason that we have chosen them, and the majority of them are actually African-American special needs, is because they are typically deemed as unemployable. And we are always looking for ways that we can bring people up with us. When I first started the company, we brought them on. They've been with us this whole time for 7 years. People are generally told that they are not good enough, that they are too slow, their brains don't work as well. And I find that honestly, they are my most loyal employees. So always looking for ways for us to give back. And with COVID-19, one of the things that we first did was that we looked for ways that we could directly impact first responders. And so people may say, well, what does hair care have to do with first responders or COVID at all? And I say, you know what, we are not necessarily essential to life, but we are essential to lifestyle. And when you feel 100% beautiful about yourself, you can pour from a full cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup if you don't feel 100% for yourself. So what we did is that we donated our deluxe travel kits to the first responders in our Naturalicious community and allowed our customers to donate those as well. So that was amazing. I'm really excited. I'm excited to have this conversation. I'm not excited for the reason that we have to have this conversation about George Floyd and racial relations, but it's a long overdue conversation. And I'm so happy, Sabrina and everyone here, that we're able to engage in this dialogue, because we have been saying for years that economic empowerment is one of the only ways that we are going to smash racial inequalities. Posting a Black square on your Instagram feed is great, but what happens afterwards? You know, like your Instagram post does not stop anyone from dying. So what are your actions going to do? And I'm really, really excited to see what companies do to step up in order to smash this problem that we've had for generations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can go next as like the previous roommates of of Gwen and Melissa. It's also, you guys made such a powerful statement, and it was really exciting to be in Pony Ride and to be alongside of other female owned and operated brands. My name is Veronika Scott, and I run the Empowerment Plan, which is a nonprofit. So it's a little different, but at the same time, to see other female leaders is always really encouraging and really powerful. So Empowerment Plan is a nonprofit organization in Detroit that focuses on ending the generational cycle of homelessness through employment. And we do that by hiring individuals from shelters across the city to produce these coats that turn into sleeping bags that we then give out globally to those in need. We've done about 50,000 units since we've started, and we've distributed them to all 50 states and now I think 20 other countries. But at the same time, you know, this is a deeply personal project for me. My entire family is from Detroit. You know, my family came from Poland and directly started working at kind of that American dream of working for an automaker back in the day. So my family for generations have been here. And for me, when starting Empowerment Plan, it was a deeply personal project. Both of my parents have been unemployed for decades and struggle with addiction and poverty and mental health. And so really, this is an answer to something that I wish had existed for my own family. And so we started off very small with 3 people in a utility closet inside of a shelter, making the first few coats. But quickly, the first group of people that came from that shelter that we hired became like the co-founders with me. We built it together, and it has grown into something so much bigger because of them and because of the community around us. And that the coat itself was designed in shelters across the city and not, you know, for people. And I think that was a big part of the process and how you engage the community around you. And for me, it was my neighbors. How do you engage them in this process rather than say, I know what you need? And I think we're past that point of kind of parachuting into communities that are not our own and saying here and prescribing what we think that they may need when the solutions are there and when the people are there and the voices are there. And so since COVID, we initially shut down, but we've actually been able to pivot. We are now producing PPE. So we are producing isolation gowns for local hospitals. Very rarely is there a call to action for sewers. There's never like, we need all the sewers in the world to get behind this. And even now, with the murders that have happened, and obviously the protest that represents all the people that we serve, and it's so important to listen to and give space for the grief and the trauma and healing to take place. And sitting there in the office and having conversations with somebody on my team about how to explain this to their 10-year-old son that's watching is what's happening and doesn't get it and doesn't know why it keeps happening to people that look like him. And it's just, you know, how do we leave space for that? And how do we recover, and how do we support our team in however long that process is, to process everything that's gone on. So it's a journey. I'm also looking forward to hearing from everybody on this panel about kind of what's next. What do we do? How do we support the people in our lives?
I love it. I love it.
I'm the last one, I think.
Yeah, save the best for last.
So my name is CASSY ATHENA. I'm also from Los Angeles, born and raised here. And I grew up playing sports, and I just loved like the whole team aspect. When I was younger, my dad, he would kind of document me and my brother, just, you know, he loved taking pictures and videos. So I kind of associated taking a photo with capturing a memory versus like doing photo shoots and stuff like that. So as I started to get into college and play basketball, I'd take pictures of my teammates, or I'd take pictures of the guys' team. And I saw like the reactions of how people just loved having these memories that they could cherish, you know, for years to come. So during the NBA lockout is when I really started. You know, I found the Drew League, and that's where I met like Darrell and Mia and just all kinds of LA people, and they just all embraced me right away. I was the only person taking pictures down there, and you know, it was just a really cool thing. And my culture was so different. Like, we were all from LA, but you know, I grew up in northern Los Angeles, South LA, and just seeing how everybody just accepted me, and you know, they just all loved the photos and the memories. So I continued to do that, and I really saw that there was a need for lifestyle photography and also showing these players in a good light. I got really sick of seeing all the gossip stuff, and players are always being portrayed with for the negative and all that. So I kind of just immersed myself into that world and became friends with a lot of players, and, you know, film videos and pictures. And so that's kind of where I got to where I'm at now. You know, I shoot everyone from high school players to college players to NBA players to, you know, whoever, to the basketball wives, like everywhere. I'm always everywhere. So, you know, and then recently with the COVID-19, there's really no job for me right now because of, you know, we can't gather. So I've really been trying to just, you know, bring up some old photos. I have so many pictures I've taken over the years, you know, hundreds of thousands of pictures. So I've been trying to go through some old archives and just share just positive messages. And of course, with all the recent killings that have been happening, and, you know, this affects me a lot because it affects people that I love. It affects my friends and my family. And so, but I think that that's the power of social media, and the power of, like, how a video showing this stuff is now bringing light to so much stuff that's already been happening. And, you know, I've always known the power of photography and video in the basketball space, but now being able to have it in politics and being able to show just like our everyday lives and being able to unite people together to make a difference, I think is really huge. And I'm excited to see where our country goes together from here on out.
Thank you. Thank you. I think one thing that I noticed, you guys as entrepreneurs, y'all have a lot of stuff in common, but one thing that all of you touched on was the pivoting. And so regardless of whatever climate we're in, whatever we're doing, how you all as business owners have had to pivot and rise to each occasion. And in doing so, you've still been able to keep your personal brand on, and you've still been able to, you know, you've built your personal brand in your business, but then pivot to whatever the needs are. Can anyone touch on why is your personal brand so important? Or when you mentioned about, you know, reaching out to Naturalicious that are essential workers, still on brand and on message, but it rose to the occasion. So does anyone want to talk about personal branding and why that's so important?
I think that nowadays people are really interested in who is creating the products that they love, products and services. And so right now, you know, founders are the new celebrities. Everyone wants to know who's behind the brand. The first thing you probably look at when you go to any website is the about page. And honestly, if that about page doesn't have a picture, I'm like, who's making this stuff? You know, honestly, some of the first questions that we get when people find out about us is that, and they've always asked it, not just in this climate, is this Black owned? Mm-hmm. And the answer is obviously yes, but, you know, they want to know. And so it's very, very important to make sure that your personal brand you're out there and people can see. You can't hide behind your brand anymore. A lot of times I think people used to be able to do that, and people are really interested in seeing who it is that's actually behind this stuff. Quite frankly, there's a lot of products that are targeted to certain consumers, and the person who is making it or, you know, making the decisions they don't look anything like that person. They don't share their struggle. And one thing that I always tell people is when they ask if something is owned by a certain type of person is, well, who's it operated by? Because just because it's owned by someone doesn't mean that that's who's actually running the show, you know? So that's one thing. But I think for me personally, having my own personal brand and really being out there allows me to really build a tribe of consumers who are ride or die with me when we experience things like COVID. They want to double down and make sure that they're supporting us so that we can survive, because if we can't survive, their lives are affected because they can't buy our stuff, and we're such an integral part of their lives. So I appreciate the opportunity to have my brand and myself out there because I can be transparent. I can talk to them just like they're my friends, and they appreciate that. Customers are very able to tell when someone's being authentic and when they're not.
Right. Gwen, you made some really good points touching on not being able to hide behind your brand, right? I think people are really interested in your story, like your personal story. With the advent of social media, we feel very connected to celebrities. We feel more so connected to the brands that we love. So it's really about making sure that what you're, especially in the consumer space, what you're selling and what you're offering is connected to who you are. And like you said, it's about building a tribe. It's about people being able to feel good about supporting whatever you're doing. If it's in the nonprofit space, Veronika, you touched on your backstory, like people care about that. And people care about accountability more so than ever, because we have now cancel culture. So you have to really stand behind and be who you say you are. I think that, we're in this era of the kids really not having it as far as, eating your words or showing up in spaces and not being authentic. So it's super important to not only share your personal brand, but to make sure you are who you say you are.
I agree with Gwen and Mia completely. I think there's a lot of incredible points, and I think this is the time to almost over communicate. We tend to try to, I think as entrepreneurs, we all kind of joke about how we can pretty much weather anything. And if something happens, there's always we can always spin it. We're very good at the spin of I tell the story of a part of our building could be on fire. And, I'm going to sit there and be like, oh, we didn't need that part anyway. It's fine. We're going to figure it out. The way that we can spin things is kind of hysterical. But at this point, I think everybody wants to hear the reality of what's going on with you, that it's hard, that you're struggling, that you're figuring this out. I think that's when, Gwen's point about a tribe and having those people that support you and that feel connected to you is so important. We wouldn't be able to have pivoted to PPE financially without those people that heard that we were shutting down, that we didn't know what tomorrow was going to be. I think that's really important. And then knowing, not my personal brand, but as empowerment plan, we have pillars of what we care about. Everything else can change, but I know that we're going to hire these women and we're going to employ them and we're going to support them. If you come to me with an idea of how we should get things made in China, that's not an idea we're doing. But that's a way to eliminate a lot of stuff. But when it came to pivoting, as long as it served that need, to serve what we were doing, we could get behind it. So I think staying true to those pillars, but also communicating the pain and the hardship and being real about how you may not know what is going to be ahead, or how you may not know how to handle something. I think that's been actually the most powerful thing that I've learned in the last year the hard way.
I think that's good. I think especially, once again, connecting all of y'all about that transparency as you are, becoming yourself. A lot of our viewers are younger age and, they're trying to find their way, building their personal brand or not knowing who they are. That's okay. But the beauty in it is the transparency, and you being not only transparent with others, but most importantly, transparent with yourselves. Does anyone want to talk about how you started your business, or what, initially drove you to becoming an entrepreneur and, saying, you know what, I'm going to go for it?
Sure, I'll take it. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have very similar stories. People start businesses because they're trying to solve problems. Like any good business is started from that foundation. So for me, I saw a beauty industry that wasn't inclusive of Black women. I saw a beauty industry that wasn't even inclusive of any woman who didn't look like, that tiny beauty box. I felt like for years, the beauty industry and the media said that beauty was very linear and it looked a specific way. And unfortunately, I saw a country of women trying to conform and trying to transform to fit within that beauty box. And so I started the company to solve a problem like most entrepreneurs. But I think what was really interesting about it, because I'm not passionate about makeup, I tell people all the time, but I am passionate about self-worth and value and self-esteem. And I know, like Gwen said, if you look good, you're going to feel good. You're ultimately going to do good. So I know what that relationship between beauty and self-esteem is like, especially for women, because for centuries we've been made to believe that our worth is in our ability to have children. Our worth is in our ability to look good. Our worth is in our ability to serve someone else, oftentimes a man. So understanding the patriarchy that's associated with our beauty, that's why I started this company. So it was born from frustration, and it's not easy. Like, even though it's a beauty company and it shows up very glamorous and it should be fun, it's the most challenging thing I've ever done, because you always have to pivot. You always have to optimize. You always have to problem solve. And then the thing that people don't talk about is you have to become a leader, and no one teaches you how to be a leader. You know, anyone can be a CEO, but it takes work, it takes discipline, it takes a lot of personal and professional development to become like a true leader where you can have people who trust your vision. So being an entrepreneur is largely about solving someone else's problem, because it's not necessarily about you. It's always bigger than you. That's how you get to building a sustainable business, by solving larger problems and really having a truly large vision that can impact the world around you.
Yes,
I know. I was like,
I'm back here like, girl.
I was writing down for myself. It's literally don't conform, don't transform.
Right.
Like, push yourself. I'm like talking
And
to myself.
patriarchy. Come on with the bonus word of the day.
Yes. One thing. Go.
Okay. Well, because I get this question all the time. What's the purpose of the National Basketball Wives Association? Or we're immediately associated with the show. And so when you talk about solving a problem and what could be perceived as a problem in this culture is that we had a narrative that was defined by media, like we've been discussing. And because now we're going to touch on what's happening in the Black community, because a lot of our athletes and entertainers are part of our Black culture's 1%, our 1%ers. And because of the statistics of divorce, the statistics of bankruptcy, I was impassioned to lead an organization that changed the narrative, that educated, that really broke down stereotypes and really introduced the vast different dynamic women that are part of this organization, and to really educate and to not conform to this media narrative that had been kind of defining who we were. So within that, we've been able to amass, I think, 100 plus members. We're starting workshops that our members are putting on that are teaching financial education that, you know, we may not have paid attention to or felt it important to pay attention to until it was too late. But being that a lot of us, if it's not us, our husbands are kind of the gatekeepers of the culture, it's important that we're involved in boots on the ground and a part of these conversations and having plans and knowing what we're doing for the community and being very intentional about it. So I want to speak on that because a lot of people are like, oh, well, what's the point? What do you guys do? And it's like, there's a lot. There's a lot that needs to be done, but there is importance in it for sure.
Well, I think, and just to connect what both you and Melissa were saying, you problem solved. Melissa saw an avenue where, you know, women were misrepresented, and it was still, she connected that to her core beliefs as far as Mia, what, you know, we do with the Wives Association is you saw where there was a need, and that's what you guys can do. It can be a need in your classroom. It could be a need in your neighborhood. It can be a need wherever you are. You never know where you're going to go. But you know that when you see that change has to be done, it's you take that leadership upon yourself and you do the work. And I think that anyone can assimilate to that. So I think that's super powerful.
Really quickly, I think a lot of people are kind of feeling stuck right now and feeling very confused. Like, what do I do? How do I show up? And I just want to take this time to remind everyone that we all have a place. So not everyone has to protest. Not everyone has to organize. Some people are donating. Just do whatever you feel emboldened to do within your heart, because all of us serve a purpose in the progress of this country and in the progress of Black people, for me specifically. So just know that there's no right way to do it. You go after whatever you feel impassioned about, and that's okay. Not everyone has to do the same thing to get to that end result, but what's important is that all of us are willing to take actions to get to that progress that we all want to see.
Absolutely. And then your passion can change from now into when you guys are going to high school, when you're going to college, you have different experiences. That's fine. But whenever you're led by your passions and whenever you're led by your purpose, that's how you start to expand, you know, where you want to go. I mean, you know, as you guys are working in your passion, you're working towards your purpose. Would anybody like to talk about how did that journey begin? Or like when you were younger, you know, the first kind of advice you either received from your mom or from someone you looked up to about finding that passion, finding that purpose?
Well, I'll touch on it really quick because you were talking about these like young individuals with like classes. Like Empowerment Plan was a class project in college. And I went to art school, so I had no experience sewing, no experience with business. Similar to what Melissa was saying, no one ever sat me down and was like, by the way, you want to hire people, it's going to be crazy. It's like, let me just tell you how challenging it's going to be. No one ever did that. Everyone was like, okay. But I think it was that in the beginning, you know, I stumbled into that class project around designing to fill a need in the community. Like this was my home. That was like the couple blocks around where I lived. And then also it ended up actually designing to fill my own kind of like was a weird way therapy of designing to fill for what has happened to me as a kid, that what that experience was like growing up, where you're bouncing around from place to place, not sure if you're going to have a roof over your head for how long or where the next meal is coming from, and the violence and insecurity that brings to, and anger, and how people looked at kids in poverty. They still like families in poverty. I remember having people look at me and my siblings as if we were like worthless by extension, that most of my family didn't even bother learning our names, that they just assumed we'd have the same life. That because my parents didn't graduate, because they were struggling with addiction, because they were unemployed, they looked at us and said, okay, you guys are going to be the same way. And I think that mindset is so damaging, that like low expectation that we put on people is so damaging. And so that was really what I was internally solving. But when school ended and it was like, okay, well, what next? And I had been working on Empowerment Plan, like moonlighting between classes, and I had to make the decision whether or not to do it. I didn't think I was the right person. Like no one in my family had ever started a business. No one in my family had, like, I don't even know anybody that had, I certainly didn't have the money or the network or connections that I knew. Like you hear stories most of the time of entrepreneurs. They're like, oh, I had a loan. I got money, like $100,000 from this person. It was just, but it was so hard. I'm like, really? Really? How hard really was it? You know, it's just those things you hear from people, but I never heard somebody like me or a lot of like my friends or the kids that I went to school with. So it was interesting. Like I was my biggest barrier in the beginning of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I shouldn't be the one doing this. I don't know how to, like, I had to learn how to sew to do this. Like it wasn't that I had all those things. And I think sometimes those experiences that we have uniquely equip us to help change that trajectory, like actually help to make change. Like had I not grown up the way that I did, I wouldn't take that back in a million years. That gave me these skills to do what I'm doing now. And I think a lot of people want to bury it and hide it and cover up the stuff that they've gone through in their lives. But instead, I think it's just about owning it and using it, and being able to make something great out of it.
It's taking your story, taking where you are, your personal experience. The beauty in that is it's yours. Like Veronika touched on, the beauty in an empowerment plan is it was a seed, and look what that seed has produced. And as you guys look at your own stories and look at where you currently are, you're the seed. So don't bury it to lose it, but bury it so you can continue to water it and let it grow to channel into what your next steps will be. I really want to touch on, like you said, Veronika, about how sometimes it comes off as raising capital is just so easy, or doing this is just so easy. And we always hear about the great, great success stories. But let's talk about you guys' experience with failure, or just touch on the motivation behind the failure, the current feeling, failing, and then how that didn't stop you to continue to push forward.
I think my company started with failure. It started because it was really a hobby. So I think a lot of times, like Melissa said, we are creating companies that aren't really even supposed to be companies. They're just problems that we're trying to resolve for ourselves. And then we find out that other people have that same issue, and then it kind of snowballs and becomes a business. And so that was the case with me. And I was just at home making hair products for myself. I had found Chris Rock's documentary on good hair and saw that he put a soda can into a tub of hair relaxer, and that can disintegrated within minutes. And it just freaked me out to know that it could disintegrate a metal can. And at the time I was pregnant with my son. And I just remember thinking, if it's going to disintegrate this metal, what's it doing to the flesh of my child that's growing inside of me? And so that led me to this path, you know, similar to Veronika. She didn't know how to sew. I didn't know anything about hair. I was not the girl who grew up where everybody was twisting my hair on the playground. My hair was whack. It was horrible when I was growing up. And so I had no idea what to do. I also grew up always feeling like I always thought I was pretty physically, but my hair was such a big extension of how I felt about myself. And I always wore hats, or I always wore like braids or something, because my hair just never did what I wanted it to do. And as I got older and I started creating products for myself, I realized how much a part of my identity my hair was, particularly for someone who looks like me. And so I created these products. It eventually morphed into a business. And I realized that when I finally created products that made my hair do what I wanted it to do, and I could get predictable results all the time, it didn't have to be a struggle. And there's this ongoing joke amongst our community that the struggle is real when it comes to our hair. And my entire company exists to remove the struggle. Everything that we do makes it so much easier for us to be our beautiful selves. We have been told for centuries that our beauty is not good enough, that, you know, we need to, you know, dye our hair, fry it, dye it, lay it to the side, all that kind of stuff. And people have even been fired from their jobs for wearing their hair as it grows naturally out of their heads, which is insane if you think about it. And so I am very excited to lead this company to helping women realize that their beauty, similar to same thing as Melissa, their beauty is enough. And I forgot the question.
I was like, yes, you are beautiful. Y'all are beautiful. Like, it is enough. I'm gonna put my finger down, y'all. Sorry, but I was
Bring me back. What was the question again?
No, we were talking about. No, it's fine. We were talking about how you push through failure, but you touched on that.
Yes.
Like, yeah, like, no, you're fine.
I apologize, but in the beginning when I started it, to go back a little bit, I started with the Chris Rock thing, and it was a hobby for me. But fast forward about 18 months after I did that, I found myself in a very abusive marriage. My son was about 1.5 at that point, and I realized that this was not the life that I had signed up for. I was better than that. I did not grow up in a household that looked like that. I knew what love looked like, and I knew it didn't look like this. And I also knew that I was raising a boy who was one day going to have a wife or a girlfriend or some sort of significant other. And I could not have him thinking that this is what love is supposed to be. So I left as much for myself as I did for him. And I found myself getting laid off from my job just 30 days before my divorce was final. So I was left with $32 in the bank, single mother, no family near me to help out. And the only thing that I can think of to do to make money is to turn this hobby into a business. But luckily, it had become a passion project. I was so excited to see how women's faces would light up and how their lives would literally transform in an instant just from a bottle of shampoo, you know, and it was incredible. And so the failure for me, people always ask me, what's your biggest struggle? Like, there's nothing more of a struggle than me starting a company with $32. I did not have, like Veronika said, you know, I didn't have a rich uncle to loan me at the $100,000. You know, I was taking me and my baby to the open air market called Easter Market here in Detroit and showing up, pretending like I was supposed to be there, literally like almost like stealing space, kind of sort of.
It all worked out.
You know, I had to do what I had to do. And I would take him and we would go to Easter Market and we would sell our products, and eventually we got into Whole Foods and all these other stores. But, you know, I don't think that there's any more of a struggle than that for me. Mm-hmm. So any other thing that comes my way, I'm just like, I've already been the lowest of the lows. So there's nothing else that comes my way that's going to scare me.
I want to recommend a book. Everybody actually on this panel should read this book. It's called E-Myth Revisited: Why Most Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. It's incredible. I don't want to go into the details about it, but if you're thinking about starting a business or if you have a business, like, you should read this book. it's gonna it's a game changer 100%.
I wanted
okay.
even no that. Can you text me that book? Because I couldn't
Yes.
write it down. But also too, Gwen brought up a really good point about, you know, it's hard to struggle when you're like, where I am is where I am. So if there's only up from here. But then Cassie, you created your own lane. So it's the same same thing. How did you create your own lane and, you know, taking an industry like photography and that's creative, but then you're like, no, I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to make a career out of it.
I think a lot of it kind of started off the same way as everyone else, where it's just a passion. Like I really just enjoyed taking pictures and I never really saw myself doing it as a career. And then, like I said, you know, during the lockout, I was doing it as a hobby. And, you know, I was getting a lot of good feedback. People were posting my pictures and I was like, cool, like I'm just gonna go apply for a job at, you know, whatever, you know, sports company and get hired. And everybody turned me down. Everybody was like, you're not a real photographer. You know, you didn't go to school for it. I had gone to school for animation. I'd done something totally different. And I was like really discouraged because, like, you know, we're talking about passion. Like sometimes it's not really about a problem that you consciously are like, I'm going to solve this problem. It's just like you're so passionate about something. And then as you get obstacles coming, you kind of have to go and see where those obstacles, you know, solving them leads to. So, you know, at first, a lot of people were telling me that, you know, don't, you know, you can't be a photographer. And then on top of that, I had a lot of male photographers even tell me like, there's really no women who shoot sports photography. Like nobody will take you serious. Like don't even try. I mean, every professional photographer I talked to told me to quit. Even women, I would meet women photographers I look up to and they would tell me like, you'll never make money, just quit. And I like quickly realized that the whole industry and a lot of industries are just so competitive and people get very threatened that you're going to take their job. And instead of trying to include everyone, I especially feel like that with women and women in sports. I feel like a lot of times, you know, it's so hard for women to break into that field. Once there's one in there, they feel like there can only be one. There can't be any more. Like they have the position secure. And instead of kind of helping other women get into that field, they kind of just push everybody out. So as everybody kept turning me down, I started working at like a visual effects studio. I was trying to work in Hollywood, do some different stuff. And every day I'd work, you know, 12 to 15 hours a day, sometimes 80 hours a week. I'd get off work and drive to the nearest college basketball game to take pictures. So I realized like my passion was overtaking like the way that I was making, you know, some money. And so one day, the owner of my visual effects company, he knew I was super passionate about basketball. I got in trouble a lot for talking about it. And so they let me go and they said, look, you know, you're not meant to be here. And I know this is going to be hard, but like, we're going to have to let you go, but go follow your basketball passion. I'm like, I don't even know how to start. So he had a brother that worked at Fox Sports and he asked his brother, hey, can you get her a press pass to go shoot an NBA game? So it was weird because I got laid off and then literally a week later, I'm sitting courtside at a Clipper game shooting like these NBA guys. And once I had a taste of that, it just like everything inside of me was like, okay, like I have to do this. And so, but I started noticing like as I started getting into these spaces, like I said, I noticed that there wasn't a big like photography world in the lifestyle culture of sports. Everything was like on the court or maybe at like a summer league, whatever. It was never like, what shoes are they wearing? What outfits are they wearing? You know, what's the block parties look like? You know, all of that stuff. And so, you know, there's a lot of players who were inviting me, come to this flag football game, come to this birthday party. And I started capturing this whole different side that people didn't know. And now it's like everybody wants to go. Everybody wants to shoot the outfits. There's whole pages dedicated to outfits and sneakers and what players do in the off season. And then now, you know, with Instagram, I think that has been the greatest thing. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, because on social media, when we post stuff, you're really just posting the positive. You're not necessarily posting all the struggle. And I think that's what you guys are talking about, where it gets a little difficult when you're trying to start off on your own and you're like, oh, I'm having all these problems. But when I look at these celebrities, they don't have problems, but, you know, or these entrepreneurs, these business people, but it's not true. Like, it's just social media is, you know, it's kind of like give and take. But I feel like for me, it gave me a voice. I was able to build a platform by myself. I've never had to work for a company. I don't work for any newspaper, no anything. And I've been able to freelance my way around and have my own platform and my own outlet. And through that, a lot of other women, I've inspired them and helped put them in positions to have jobs and do stuff. And I think it's really cool that through social media, we're able to not only connect with each other, but to help inspire other people. And things like this, panels like this, being able to talk about the struggles of it, that's all a part of it. If you see anybody successful and they say that there's no struggles, it's not true. Like, every one of us has to go through stuff. And but I think that's what makes it stronger. And I think that's what shows like your passion, definitely. So yeah.
It also makes it worth it. It makes it, when you get there and you've worked to be somewhere, then it makes it so much sweeter to walk in it. I'm sure you guys all, sit at your chair where you are and you're like, dang, I really got here. And not even from it's from a self-worth point. You deserve to be there because you worked that hard. And now it's like, ooh, okay, now how much further can I go? And then I liked, Cassie, how you touched on just, one, and I think we've legitimately talked about this in every panel. There is enough money, clout, success out there for everyone. Right. Collaboration over competition is one of them. Like, I live by that because, and I pride myself on being like a connector of people and just all things, because a lot of times people assume that because you receive this, then, oh, there's not enough. It's like, no. If you break down the door, like, you bring in 50 other people with you, because then that creates this space and that changes that narrative. We've been talking about change these right. past 4 weeks. We've been talking about it even today. Changing that narrative is through action, and action is like a repetitive state. So you got keep going, keep moving, keep pushing, keep expanding. And that's how you change the narrative, you change the culture. So I really like that. You also touched on inspirations, and not only you being inspired by people, but also, you guys inspiring others. Would anybody like to talk on your inspirations now? So like, as you guys are sitting and you are successful, so you are clearly inspiring a next wave of generations, but who do you guys look for inspiration?
I have like immediately somebody came.
Come on, tell us.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut anybody off. They were gonna jump on, but I'll be quick with. There's like mostly a lot of my family inspires me, and I think it takes a long time. Like, as you age, you realize how inspiring like your own family is. In the beginning, you look to other people, and then you finally get to that point where like, man, my parents did the best that they could in this crazy circumstance. And I just remember the first bit of feedback I got on Empowerment Plan when I was starting off and showing everybody this like terrible, very pretty, but not very substantial business plan I was showing to everyone. I talked to somebody that worked at a local shelter, and they said, you're never going to get a homeless person to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, let alone a coat. You're going to fail. Like, this is going to be a disaster. And I always thought it was interesting. I was like, I'm the reason this is not going to work. That's not the reason why this isn't going to work. But I think for me, there was like something that I knew at that time that I guess that person did not. And especially it's sad because this person worked at a shelter. But like, my mother had experience being like unemployed for so long, struggling with mental health, bouncing around from place to place. And yet, I talk about it to her now, and she's like, it's very hard to know, like, the lowest point in my life was what inspired you to do this. But she's like, the way that she describes our experience growing up was, we own nothing and it owned us. And that sort of like oppressive feeling of not knowing what's coming next. And, her being able to get to that point, and like, she inspired the project in the beginning. She was the one that taught me how to sew. She was the one that helped me make the first prototypes, even though that was the worst experience of her life, like teaching me on a home sewing machine. It was rough. But I think, my mom and that fortitude, and like all the mothers that we serve, that fortitude to go through some of the worst and the hardest experiences that most people cannot imagine, and come out the other side incredibly strong. And I think that's where I get that inspiration from on a daily basis.
100% my mom. And it's so funny, Veronica, you say that because yeah, growing up, my mom, she started off in nursing, was always independent. She loves to tell me that she doesn't know what it feels like for someone to do anything for her, like pay for things, pay a bill. She's just always been an independent woman, single mom. And I think what's most inspiring about my mom is that she's not afraid to fail and she's not afraid to reimagine herself. I stay away from the term reinvent because it means that your current self isn't good enough. So reimagine is what I like to use. And, you know, she started off in nursing, I need to take care of my daughter. You know, she had a passion for helping people. And, you know, from her career in nursing, she just happened to get into the entertainment industry. She managed our girl group, signed the RCA record. She managed, you know, different producers and such. And then our thing kind of fizzled out. She had to go right back into nursing. But then she said, I want to become, like, she's a serial entrepreneur. So instead of being comfortable in nursing and, you know, home health, she created her own business called Super Nurse Home Health, where she figured out how she can become kind of the boss in the domain of her situation and help in mentorship and mentor young nurses to bring on and create her own home health company. And then from there, she pivoted into finance. She came back to the entertainment industry. She's now Omarion's business partner, and she just co-produced the Millennium Tour, which was like one of the highest grossing tours last year. So I think, again, not being afraid to fail and taking chances and not putting limitations on yourself. Like, she could have told herself, I'm good. I have a stable job as a nurse. I'm straight. But she was always looking to do bigger, you know, expand herself, and definitely 100% number one motivator for me. So.
I like that.
I'll chime in.
Yeah.
Quick, okay. I love all the inspiration from the mom. My mom is a big inspiration for me too. And I have other inspirations, but I just want to encourage everybody who is listening to also consider yourself your own inspiration. Mm. So I think a lot of times about when I was younger and the things that I was told that I wasn't going to be able to do. And I just remember I was a very big talker. I never got in trouble in school. I was a great student, graduated first in my class, but I got in trouble all the time for passing notes, talking in class. I mean, sitting down to the principal's office because I just couldn't shut up. And I would get, even at home, my mother popped me in the mouth because I'm talking too much, you know? And that is actually a huge part of why my business is so successful, because I'm a really great communicator. And so at the time when I was younger, I always was told that this is a problem. You know, you need to stop talking so much. It wasn't that you don't talk well. It was just, you know, you're talking too much. Shut up, da, 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 you know. But as I got older, every role that I've had that I've been successful in, I was communicating, but I did not know that was going to lead me into what I do now. And though I own a beauty company and I focus on hair, a lot of my business is tribe building, and that's bringing people together, and all that has to do with communication and how I communicate. And so I just want to encourage the people who are listening today to consider yourself that you might be your own inspiration. You know, think about things that you do now that maybe everybody doesn't understand so much. There was one time I was taking a summer engineering class, and there was a teacher, and he told me that I was going to end up pregnant, single, on welfare.
Wow.
Because I just could not shut up. And I was just like, and I told my mother, and my mother is like a real Black mama. So she went down there and had a fit. But the idea that, you know, this is what was told to me, people will try to trash you for something that actually might be a gift of yours. And you may not even realize that it's a gift, you know? So I just want to put that thought into your mind that, you know, some things that people don't even understand about you could very well be the thing that actually leads to your success.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And not giving those words power, especially when they're so negatively like, you know, relax, back up. Yeah. We're literally almost out of time. I think we have a couple questions and we can just do them rapid fire. One asks, this one's for you, Cassie. The sky's the limit, but where do you see yourself in 5 years as a brand? Anything that we can look forward to as far as new projects? you've been an inspiration to women across the world that shows that hard work and determination comes with success. So any new project, you have anything brewing up over there?
I definitely feel like during this whole COVID thing, I feel like a lot of people have had a lot of time to kind of just reflect and refocus and reshift some stuff. So same with me. I mean, I've been working on nothing like too specific or anything, but I've just been kind of shifting. I just made my LLC and I have like my trademark and all that stuff going on. So I'm excited about like making my business more of a business, because up till now it's just been me for the past 10 years of doing this by myself. So now I'm trying to branch off and get money to be able to hire other entrepreneurs and work together with them. And I've been working on some clothing line stuff, and I don't know, it's just a lot of different things.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, people just have to follow me on social media to keep up.
Is anybody else, Mia, Melissa, Veronica, Gwen, y'all have anything brewing we should look forward to?
Yeah, actually I do, and I'm really excited about it. So in this time and thinking about economic empowerment, and then how do we really shift the narrative and how do we take action, I was personally inspired to start an organization called the Black Pact. It's launching on Monday, and it is a pledge of Black allegiance. And it's really just a commitment to try to shop Black as often as possible so that we can uplift our Black and brown sisters, our Black and brown neighborhoods across this country. Because when you think about, the state of the country, it's largely linked to money, since we are a very capitalistic country. So even if you don't decide to take the pact, I urge all of you to try to shop small, try to shop local, try to shop, Black owned, person of color owned, because that is how we truly get to equality within this country. So, and then people are going to be selfish. So make sure, people are not going to really blast themselves. So I just want to shout out, make sure you shop at Naturalicious. Make sure you donate to the empowerment plan. Make sure that you hire Cassie, especially when she gets some more help. Hire her, shop at the Lip Bar, donate to Mia's organization, or think of ways in which you can partner. So again, just be reminded that we all have our place within society, and we all can contribute something. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, any lasting words, Mia, Veronica?
Just don't put any limitations on yourself. As far as the Black community, we have a lot of work to do. I love that you said collaboration over competition. I think that we like to be the first or the only in a lot of the things that we do. And there is so much room and space for all of us. And we got to start recycling those dollars. It's just what it is. It is what it is. So I'm excited to sign up for the Black Pack.
There you go. Veronica, what can we see with the empowerment plan?
I'm a huge fan of all the products, and I have like a million lip bar colors. So I was going to ask you before all this started, Melissa, how the store was going. We live around the corner from the store, and all my team and I like go in and try on lip color for an afternoon. But like for empowerment plan, for us, it's making sure that we're stable, that we can weather this crazy storm of who knows what's coming next. And I think for us, it's how do we grow and take what we've learned with the people that we've served, and seeing how that every single person we've ever hired has moved out of the shelter within the first 4 to 6 weeks of working with us. And they've moved on into other jobs in the community. How do we continue to grow and build that pipeline? Because we know that investing in a mother and investing in, families in Detroit, that has such a powerful ripple effect. Like you said, bringing that economic power back to them. And I think that's the exciting thing. So how do we grow and scale that? And we're beginning to solve that and look at other cities and other communities, but it's going to take some time.
Oh yeah. And Gwen, before you go, make sure everyone can go back around so people can follow you guys on social. You can give your business website. So you will give us a last word, Gwen, and then make sure you give us your contact info.
Okay. So Naturalicious actually opened the first Naturalicious branded salon.
Ooh.
1 week before COVID happened. And so we had to shut down, which is okay.
Right.
But that as soon as we are able to open back up, we will be back in the saddle with that. And so that's really exciting. We have a whole actually national expansion plan for that. So that's really, really, really exciting and exhilarating. And I can't put into words how it will look, but it's going to be epic. Just know.
We can't wait. We can't wait.
Yeah, we don't have spaces and places for us on a national level in a salon environment, which is such a crux of our community. We don't have places like that. And so that's what we're looking to create. And so we're really, really excited about it. So that's what's next for us outside of product launches and stuff that we're always doing. Like Melissa said, always pivoting, always coming up with new stuff to do. But you can find us on our website, and I'll give you the really easy way to get to us so you don't have to try to spell Naturalicious. You can go to savetimeonwashday.com. That should be easy to remember. savetimeonwashday.com. That'll take you right to our website. And on social media, on Instagram, you can find us at Naturalicious_beauty. And then on Facebook, we are the Naturalicious Nation.
Okay, thank you. Make sure y'all follow. Mia, do you want to shout out your social? And we'll just, it's like the Brady Bunch. So
Yeah. So personal social is at Mrs. Mia Wright on IG. And then for the National Basketball Wives Association, we're at NBWASSOC. And then that's also our website, NBWASSOC.org. Right Legacy Foundation is rightlegacyfdn.org.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you all are in the market for some vegan and cruelty-free and easy to use beauty products, you can find the Lip Bar at thelipbar.com. We're on all social as at the Lip Bar. We're in Target stores across the country. If you want to follow me, I'm Melissa R. Butler on IG. And if you are interested in the economic advancement of Black and Brown people in this country, sign up for the Black Pact at the blackblkpact.org. On Monday, not today.
Monday. Okay. And Veronica and Cassie, give us your social.
Go ahead. No, go Cassie.
That was the first time all day.
I know, it was good. We lasted almost the entire time. Go, Cassie.
So I have a personal page on Instagram. It's Cassie Athena, but my photo page is Cassie Athena Photo. Everything else, Twitter, all that stuff is Cassie Athena. I'm working on redoing my website right now, but my Instagram is the best way to kind of keep up with what I'm doing. So, yeah.
All right. So Empowerment Plan you can find at empowermentplan.org. Same for Instagram and Facebook or any social. And if you want to get connected with me personally, I suck at social media, but my handle is Veronika, VERONIKA, Veronika Scott. So it was a pleasure talking with everybody. Thank you guys.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gwen, Melissa, Cassie, Mia, Veronika, for speaking today and telling us about your story, what you're currently doing, how you are continuing to be change makers. We just appreciate all of you for tuning in for 4 weeks straight. We made it, y'all. The virtual Girls Dream Big series. We did it. Thank you to the Detroit Pistons and Priority Health for continuing to put women first and giving a platform for all of us to speak. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a great time. We won't be here next Thursday, but you can follow me on social at SOSAB, SEAUXSAB. Y'all go out there and change. Be the change makers. Have a good one.